Good morning. Are you still with us? That was a lot of data. We've been training you for years. You were ready for this. So today we've seen that in so many ways our region is vibrant and successful. And the Greater MSP Partnership was created in part so we could tell our today story confidently and accurately. And that's one of the reasons why the dashboard is so important. Now, the analysis Audrey showed predicts major transitions in the global economy that will change the rules of the game. And the Greater MSP Partnership was also created to bring leaders together to create our tomorrow economy. Big changes are coming in tech, in demographics, in climate. That is not in question. The question is whether we will choose to wait and hope for the best, or will we act, anticipate, and position to win in the economy that's just around the corner. This morning, we are making a case for action. This morning, we are putting together a theory for you to consider based on 5 years of data and benchmarking and real-world experience, that the Greater MSP region, our economy, is maturing and may be reaching the top of a life cycle, where we're approaching an invisible choice between reinvention or decline. Now, if we believe there's a chance that might be true, then we're hearing a very big call to action, a call to reinvent our economy. That's a huge challenge, but it's one that we can meet with confidence because Minnesota knows something about reinvention. Those of you who were with Greater MSP at the investor meeting in March heard Carlson School professor Miles Shaver. Miles told us the story he uncovered about Minnesota and how we created a headquarters economy by investing in people and places and infrastructure. And his research goes back to the 1950s, and it shows how Minnesota decoupled from the national shift that saw people and jobs move from the middle and northeast of the country to the south and the west over the past generation. So while our neighboring states started a slow decline because they had manufacturing-based economies, Minnesota began a steady rise because in the 1960s and early 70s, we put our economy on a different track. We made huge investments in education and infrastructure. We created innovations in governance and public policy like the Met Council. We founded new companies and financed them with our own stock market. And we crafted entirely new industries like medical device. And as our private sector leaders drove innovations in their businesses, they also generously invested in our community. And by doing all of that, we created a globally leading knowledge economy that in 2019 looks more like Boston and Seattle than it does St. Louis or Milwaukee. Now, we tell that story and we hold that story, and we talk about it as the Minnesota miracle. Now, 50 years later, we're facing challenges of global competition and racial inclusion and K-12 education, and now suddenly affordability and climate change. And it's starting to feel like it's time for another miracle. And that miracle begins by recognizing what happened in this region and state a generation ago was no miracle at all. Minnesota's unpredicted, improbable rise in the north was the result of decisions by people not so different than us, people who came together and they made compromises and they developed a shared vision and they took some bold action. They let go of old ways that no longer worked to make some space to try some new things that might. And they did all that in many ways with less than we have today. They had less clarity about their future, and in many ways they had less resources to draw upon than we do. Now, even with all of our data and resources, we still can't see the future clearly, but we know enough to start. We know enough to launch confidently in the right directions. And over the past 5 years in the Greater MSP Partnership, we've built the infrastructure of regional collaboration that allows us to figure the rest out as we go. Together, we created the dashboard, which helps us track how the economy is performing and helps us identify priorities. We created a regional economic development strategy that lays out what we need to do. We innovated a new portfolio of strategic initiatives and talent in other areas that enable us to scale the execution of the strategy. What this region is missing, the bridge from where we are today to the next economy, is goals. We need regional goals for our economy to create a sense of urgency and accelerate action in the areas where progress is going too slow. We need goals to have a rally point to align and focus leaders. Goals will provide accountability for results where results matter most. Our region has identified priorities, but we haven't defined success. Now, this isn't a new idea. We've been talking about setting goals in this region for years, so let's just do it. We are going to set regional goals in the areas most important to our economic future this year. And we're confident that that's possible because this is not a blank page exercise. This is the last mile of a long journey in this region. The first 5 years of dashboard data are a solid foundation. And add to that the knowledge and consensus we've built over the past decade with so many collaboratives and task forces and committees and studies. It's time to consolidate that work and honor the contributions that so many have made through those efforts. The leaders of the organizations on the cover of your dashboard have already started scoping this effort. And here's what we're thinking. We will create 3-year goals that align with the time horizon of the regional strategy. And we'll envision a set of goals that are connected and embraced as a whole. Not 2 goals and not 20, somewhere in between. The goals need to be measurable and ideally on an annual basis. Now, a good question is goals for whom? The Greater MSP Partnership is opt-in, so we have no mandate to enforce compliance. Organizations will be invited to align and endorse the goals. But the goals need to be big and bold. So that means no organization will be able to own an entire goal, yet we will need certain organizations to take leadership over shaping and then pursuing specific goals. We think the goals should drive change both directly and indirectly. Directly in the sense that some organizations will make specific commitments and work together as a team to achieve goals, but also indirectly because we will communicate the goals widely across the region to inspire action and encourage alignment. I'm saying we a lot here, and I mean we, the Greater MSP Partnership, not 20 people in an organization, but a partnership of over 200 organizations and 2,000 leaders, including every one of you. This is the work of a partnership, not one leader, but many. And a team of leaders, including those on the cover of the dashboard, are going to drive this effort. I expect it will bring us closer together, and in fact, it already has. Greater MSP and the Itasca Project are locking arms to lead this goal-setting effort together. So working together, this leadership group has 2 big questions to answer. What are the areas we need to set a goal on in this region, and how are we going to measure that goal? We will convene as a group next month. Over the summer, we're going to work to develop a draft framework, and we're going to reach out to all of you and many others for feedback on that. And if you and your organization want to be a part of this effort, let us know when we send an email out tomorrow. We will have goals ready to share in November at the Greater MSP annual meeting. That's 5 months away, but we can do it with your help. So are we ready for this? You want to do this? All right. Like I said, time's on our side, so we're just going to get started right now. We're going to kick off this project by hearing from 4 great leaders in this community, and I will invite them to join me on stage now. In the entrepreneurial spirit, they are going to pitch you. Each is going to make the case for why the region needs a goal in a particular area. Now, we don't have an entire set of goals for you to react to, but we have some strong ideas about what we need to do. I'd like to introduce you to Lauren Pradhan. She's the founding managing director of Grow North and a leader on Forge North. Tawana Black is the co-founder and CEO of the Center for Economic Inclusion. Joe Spencer is the president of the St. Paul Downtown Alliance, and Gene Crane is the president and CEO of Bremer Bank. So here's how this is going to work. A leader is going to stand up. They're going to give 1 minute, and then we're all going to clap like we mean it. Okay? So we're going to practice. So join me in welcoming them to the stage. I'll introduce you real quick. So Lauren is going to go first, and she's going to pitch us an innovation. Go.
Going. Okay. As Audrey and Peter said, the world is changing at an ever faster rate, and we need innovation and breakthrough new ideas that are essential to ensure we remain competitive. We need bold and ambitious entrepreneurs, innovative business and community leaders, investment capital, and more. And so a group of us, many of which are in this room, came together to create a new strategic initiative called Forge North to bring these worlds together, and I'm proud to represent them today. We share an ambition to make Minnesota the problem-solving capital of the world, because this is a place with a history of solving problems big and small, and we want to ensure it stays that way. And we believe we have real momentum now, and we want to accelerate it. We started Forge North by rallying together, connecting our resources and our communities, and believing that together we can build something bigger than all of us. So now it's time to take it all to the next level. We want to create a big, audacious goal that will focus and drive us forward. And we need all of you to be a part of it. So join us at the Forge North event on July 24th at the Palace Theater in St. Paul and share your ambition for this region and be a part of making it happen. Thank you.
Next, Tawana is going to pitch us on a goal for racial inclusion.
Right. Good morning. Tawana Black with the Center for Economic Inclusion. Frederick Douglass told us long ago that power concedes nothing without demand. Today, our systems hold entirely too much power that has kept people of color locked out of our economy for far too long, and ultimately is costing our entire regional economy far too much. But ultimately, each one of us hold a lot of power. Power to take back our ideals, power to take back our organizations, and power to begin including the talent, the innovation, the capital of people and communities of color to the fullest extent possible so that we start to turn the trends that we see within the dashboard and ultimately turn the trends that we see within our regional economy and our communities. That is what setting goals in racial and economic inclusion is about, and that is the work that we need and want to do with you at the Center for Economic Inclusion and throughout the greater MSP partnership. We can do this. Our region is losing $15 billion and more to the extent that we continue to have not just employment disparities, but wage inequities, housing inequities, and more. And we have an opportunity to turn that tide. Together, we can do that. We want to spend the next several months working with each one of you, supporting you and thinking about what happens inside each one of our organizations every day, the policies, practices, and behaviors that we have to start changing in order to collectively turn the trends inside of our region and turn the trends inside of our state to be the state that we know we can be. Let's do it together. Watch for the emails that you'll see coming out from Greater MSP for meetings and times that we can start to say what it is we can do together, set goals, and capture the Minnesota that we know we can be. Thank you. Woo.
Awesome. Now, Joe is going to pitch us on a job creation goal.
Jobs. Does anybody remember during the Great Recession, that's all anybody talked about was jobs? That was the moment this economic development partnership was born. That was the key, and it still is today. We talk a lot about the importance of startups and economic inclusion and affordable housing and talent, but at the end of the day, it's all about jobs. Now, in downtown St. Paul, the Alliance was born just a year ago to focus on bringing more jobs and vitality into downtown. And as we benchmark our city against others, we want to see another 20,000 jobs in downtown St. Paul, but we don't exist in a vacuum. We exist in this wonderful region. We need to work together to set a bold goal to bring more jobs to our region, and we need to work together to achieve it. Now, before I had this role, a lot of folks in this room maybe knew me as the arts guy, and I am still very passionate about the arts. But when we bring more jobs, we bring more ticket buyers, we bring more patrons, and more importantly, we have more people that can enjoy the arts as well as all the great qualities of life in this region. It all comes back to jobs. And so please, please join us in beautiful downtown St. Paul on August 5th, where Greater MSP will be hosting the Business Investment Summit. Join us and we'll work together to set those goals around jobs.
And now Jean is going to bring it home by pitching us on affordability.
So as a lifelong banker, I used to think about my impact in housing was making mortgages. And then last year, I had an opportunity to co-chair the Governor's Task Force on Housing along with Akua Ellis from United Way. And as a result of that, I've started thinking about my responsibility in a very different way in terms of solving this very complex issue. And that's because housing is fundamental to people's lives and it's fundamental to our economy. And if there is the issue of not enough housing of all types, prices rise, and the downward pressure of the quality of life, that life cycle spiral just starts. And so what we need to know is that we are seeing all these indicators. We are witnesses to what is happening in San Francisco and other communities where San Francisco truly is losing the ability to attract 18 to 34-year-olds because they cannot afford housing in the Bay Area. We do know that housing has been and is a competitive advantage for this region, and we need to protect it. So population growth is dramatically outpacing the rate of housing starts in both the metro and in the state. And statewide, we would need to build an additional 10,000 units per year for the next 10 years just to keep up with the gap, which is outpacing the growth. And that's on top of the 20,000 units on average that are built every year. So it's evident that we need more housing of all types, of all price ranges, and as everyone has mentioned, we need to set a goal to hold ourselves accountable and to create focus. And frankly, as a banker, I know numbers matter, and if you don't set a goal, you're really not that serious about it. So I'd like to close my comments from a woman that I think is one of the greatest and finest Minnesota leaders, business leaders, Marilyn Carlson Nelson. In her book, she writes, it's in the book, How We Lead Matters. She talks about businesses as one of the most powerful forces on the planet for both good and ill. And she writes, in an increasingly complex, interconnected world, business leaders must pause and contemplate the way businesses can best interact with the nonprofit and the public sectors. It's not unlike the way the ancients used to look at the stars. Some just saw stars, but others saw the patterns of the dogs, bears, goddesses, and hunters. They connected the dots, and we will never again see the sky in the same way. It is time for all of us to come together as business leaders with the nonprofit, the philanthropic, and the public sectors to address this issue and solve it for affordability. Thank you.
Let's give everybody a hand. Thank you. You want to go back? Now, some of you are upset, and I see you sending me pointed emails. Why did we not talk about education? Why did we not talk about workforce development? Why didn't we talk about transit? Chair, I see you right there. We want you to channel that energy, okay? We are going to get you a chance to give us your 1 minute on the economic issue you think is most important to this region, an area where we need to have a regional goal. Now, you can do that in just minutes by sprinting out of this room to a microphone that we have set up to capture your pitch. Or if you want to get prepared, you can record your pitch anytime this summer using this smartphone app that we send you tomorrow. And we're going to post all of those videos on YouTube, and we want everyone in this room and everyone who's not in this room to make their voice heard. And these 1 minutes are going to be part of the goal-setting process. They're actually a really important part of the data collection and storytelling. Now, this is a fun and useful way to collect feedback, and just like everything related to today's event, it's the work of a great team. I want to give some quick shout-outs. On the research side, Amanda Taylor, Greater MSP's Research Director, Julia Silvis, the Itasca Project Lead, Maurice Harris and Francis Huntley from Greater MSP, and Justin Hollis from Minnesota Compass. Our great investor relations team, Judy Johnson and Peter Kaiser, Greater MSP's amazing communications team, Wendy Blackshaw, Laura McCarthy, Carolyn Hayden, Ashley Kantz, and our amazing videographer, John Reynolds. Now, it's important, it takes a team, right? From today, what we've known as the dashboard effort is becoming a bigger regional project that's focused on tracking our economic performance and getting us going into the future. We're pushing from data to action and setting priorities. The dashboard is not going away. The dashboard works, but there's going to be more. And this year, there are some important moments where we need you and others in your organizations to show up to help us do this work and build this project out. 1 month from today, you heard Lauren mention it, July 24th, we are launching Forge North as the new strategic initiative of the Greater MSP Partnership focused on startups and innovation. What Make It MSP is to talent, Forge North will be to innovation in this region. We're going to be talking about goal setting there. On August 5th, the second annual Business Investment Summit, an opportunity where we get all kinds of folks together, hundreds of people, big room like this. Here's where we're winning in this region on deals. Here's why. Here's where we're struggling, and here's why. Having an open and transparent conversation, working together to get better around deal flow, and it's about setting a 3-year goal. There will be Welcome Week. That's related to welcoming newcomers to this region. We had 93,000 people, if you missed that set, 93,000 people from outside the state moved to this metro last year. The greatest way we can get better at migration is keeping all those people here. So we need to welcome them aggressively, and that's what Welcome Week is about. Then, Inner-city leadership visit. Audrey's given a shout out to this. This is something that's been going on in this community for a long time. We're working to connect it more intentionally to the dashboard and make this about learning and actually make this about strategic action. So Greater MSP and the Itasca project are intentionally the lead co-sponsors of ICLV to Boston this year in an attempt to go someplace that's a peer and learn about what matters most. That is going to be a great opportunity. In November, we're going to be releasing the goals that we've talked about, and then in December, there's an important new dimension to the dashboard project that's being built out. Many of the conversations we're having today have policy implications, or should, and the 2 regional chambers are going to take the lead on creating a new event later this year, November, December, that's going to be based on the dashboard and focus specifically on policy, and more to come on that. The work of reinventing this region for the next economy starts this year. It's up to us. Thank you for making time on I don't know how beautiful that is today. It should be beautiful. It's June. Beautiful day. I look forward to seeing all of you very soon. Have a great day.